Hello, everyone. Welcome back inside the Centura Hill Training Center for another episode of Broncos Now. As always, I'm your host, Sydney Jones, and coming up on today's episode, today was day 4 of training camp, and the team celebrated Back Together Weekend presented by Ticketmaster. Head coach Sean Payton detailed the team's performance this week, and outside linebacker Frank Clark spoke to the media for the first time. All that and more coming up. It was a great day here at the Centura Hill Training Center as the team in the NFL celebrated Back Together Weekend presented by Ticketmaster. And it was a great day on the field. Head coach Sean Payton said the players will be off tomorrow, but will hit the field on Monday for their first padded practice. Overall, though, head coach Sean Payton said he liked what the team accomplished in their first few days of training camp.
Bringing everyone up to speed as to what we're wanting. In the same way with the coaching staff, you know, the expectations of how we want to practice to look, the tempo, and then, you know, the installation obviously is important. So these guys learning in the meetings, watching the tape, you know, trying to avoid the repeated mistakes, that kind of thing. But look, it's their first time. It's our first time as a staff together. So, you know, we all like routine and eliminating distractions and trying to do all of that, but trying to get these guys into that practice that we're looking for tempo-wise and organizationally.
And with the team having their first padded practice on Monday, Sean Payton discussed how he'll look to evaluate the team then.
Well, look, we're evaluating everything. The key is not to come to the conclusions right away, but we're, you know, all of these snaps and reps and stuff that we're seeing, it's all going into the evaluation process, and certainly it helps the player when, you know, he can perform, when he knows what he's doing. But I've seen it a lot when the pads come on where certain guys, it can kind of define them sometimes in a positive way. So we've got a lot of time here, and there is a sense of urgency as to what we're doing, but, you know, we're really right at the beginning.
Plus, we heard from outside linebacker Frank Clark as he spoke to the media for the first time since he's been with the team, and he discussed why Denver was the right fit for him.
You know, football is a game about, you know, falling in love with the players, you know, not so much the team, you know, just keeping it real. You know, you fall in love with the guys, and you build relationships with guys. And, you know, the one thing I've always did was hold on to those relationships tight. What we was able to do in Kansas was special. 4-year run, 2 Super Bowls, 3 FC titles. It was fun. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, all good things come to an end. And new journey. It's all part of the journey. Year 9, new start, fresh start out here in Denver. And I'm just enjoying myself, you know.
Clark also went on to talk about playing for head coach Sean Payton and how he's already built an identity here.
At the end of the day, you know, Coach Payton, he does a great job. He's doing a great job with us since he's came in, just, you know, reinstilling that type of ball. You know, for years, and that's any team. I don't care how good you are. You know, I've been on successful teams. We come in the summer and we don't have an identity. You have to build an identity every year. You know, if you're living off what you did last year, I'm not coming in here talking to these guys about, oh, man, I'm this Super Bowl champ, 2-time champ. I haven't said that one time to any of these guys. I'm coming in, I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to get better going into year 9 like I'm going into year 1. And I'm just trying to make these guys understand the importance of appreciating this opportunity. You know, we're going to be with a lot of guys. You go through camp, we got 90 guys on the field. You only can play, 53 at the end of the day. So you got 40 guys that's not going to be here, you know, 40 people who going to possibly be on other teams, you know, hopefully. And, you know, you just enjoy the moment, enjoy the grind, and, you know, everything else is going to come.
And running back Samaje Perine was asked about how Sean Payton uses running backs in his offense and discussed the type of back he is.
It's going to – the league in general is going to a pass-heavy league, but his offense still utilizes both backs running the ball very heavily, and that takes some of the pressure off the quarterback, you know, because he doesn't have to drop back 50, 60 times a game. And if we can get that going, then it's going to be a pretty dangerous offense. I'm just your normal, hard-working running back. You know, I'm nothing flashy. I don't do anything special. Just work hard and get results.
Now joining me here in the Broncos podcast studio is Broncos lead writer Eric Delale. Eric, another great day of practice out there, and it was great to see all of Broncos Country out there for Back Together Weekend as well.
Yes, it was a fun day.
It was.
Out there, a lot of different activations. Obviously, we revealed the alternate snow-capped helmet last week already? This week.
This week.
Wow.
Earlier this week.
Yeah, it all
That
blends
feels like
together.
a couple weeks ago.
Blends together, yeah, it does. But there was a throne for fans to sit on, and there was
Feet up close.
a giant inflatable that you could take pictures with. And Sid, I can see from your arm, there was some sort of face painting,
Yes.
arm painting station.
I had some fun out there today, too.
I like it.
Thank you.
It's good. I didn't have a chance to get one, but
Bummer.
hopefully they'll be out there again.
Hopefully. Well, Eric, like I said, it was good practice. Head coach Sean Payton, he said it was a good practice out there. Feels good about the work the team's put in. Overall, just what were your takeaways from the day?
Yeah, I thought that Russell Wilson started the day really strong. There was a 7-on-7 period where Russ was sharp, getting the ball out quick. There was one drop and then went right back to Jerry Jeudy, who caught a long pass. That was good to see. And then in a team period, Russ threw a great pass to Cortland Sutton along the sideline, was able to get both feet in bounds.
Beautiful catch.
Working against Pat Surtain, and anytime you catch a ball on Pat Surtain, obviously that's a sign that it's a pretty good throw and catch there. So was impressed with Russ in the offense early. Obviously, it's not going to be perfect. Still a little, just some kinks to work out here and there. You always expect the defense to be a little bit more ahead of the offense at this point in training camp. I think you saw that in terms of some of the pressure the defensive line, the outside linebackers provided on this day of practice. We'll see what it's like when the offensive line gets pads on, because then they can fight back a little bit. Right now, the defensive line can swipe and they can go by you, and it's hard to do much. So I'll be interested to see how that competition looks once Mike McGlinchey is back. He's going to be back Monday. Sean Payton let everybody know, unfortunately, that he had suffered a death in the family, which, our thoughts out to him.
Absolutely.
Very sad, but he will be back out at practice. We're expecting on Monday. So that offensive line will be complete again. And when they get pads on, it'll be interesting to see how they look there. Yeah, and then maybe one other takeaway, and I'm not sure that fans are especially dialed in on the kicking competition at this point, but Sean Payton said, and we'll knock on wood here, that nobody has missed so far through the first couple of kicking periods during training camp. So that's a good sign too. And yeah, the Broncos, there weren't a ton of highlight plays necessarily. That Sutton catch there, Pat Surtain had a near interception. Faion Hicks did have a pick. So there were a few, but I think as pads get on and we get closer to quote-unquote real football, you'll see more of that. But still, a solid day of work, and it's hard to stack days, I think, and now you go into the off day, and I'll be interested to see, how do they come back on Monday? Because a lot of times that's when you see teams lose focus. You see the coach get upset in terms of how the practice went. So I'll be watching to see how they practice Monday.
Yeah, you mentioned it, Eric. They have tomorrow off. The players have tomorrow off. And then Monday they'll come back for their first padded practice. And head coach Sean Payton said that, they're going to have some live periods as well during that.
Yeah, and he didn't expand on that. But from what I understand about what a live period is typically that means tackling.
That's
right?
what I would think.
And so the Broncos did not do that last year. And really they haven't done that for several years. I don't think... Vic Fangio, when he was the head coach, there were a couple of live periods. I don't think when Vance Joseph was the head coach that there were many, if any, live periods. And then, I was here for just one training camp with Gary Kubiak. I don't recall that, but it's possible. But certainly the Broncos have gone a long time here, and many teams around the league have gone away from those live periods. We know Detroit does them. With Dan Campbell, we saw in Hard Knocks. They tackle to the ground, and I think that builds good tackling technique and habits, but also I think it helps with that mentality of, hey, we're here to work. We're here to play real football. We've heard Sean Payton say that again and again and again. We're going to play real football. We're going to do things differently than we did last year. We're going to work. So, yeah, I'm excited.
I'm excited, too.
It doesn't sound like all of them are going to be live periods, certainly, but he talked about clear communication and being on the same page. And, knowing, hey, is this a period where we're going live? Let's protect each other. Obviously you don't want any injuries. You want guys to be smart, no dirty tackles, anything like that. So we'll have to see how that goes. But yeah, if they're going live, so that's going to be a true evaluation that you don't often get during training camp. So fired up for that.
Me too. I'm excited. I know head coach Sean Payton said that, players are off tomorrow, but he's still going to be in the building and, kind of working through what the scripts look like the next week of practice, and maybe he'll call Sean McVay over at the Rams and kind of get that joint practice situated.
Yeah, that's coming up here in just a couple of weeks.
It'll be here before we know it.
It really will. Yeah, I mean, there's no off days for the coaches, right? The players get a day to rest, to relax, to recover before they get going again. They've got a long stretch here, before next weekend. They're going to come back Monday and just practice, and I think it's one of the longest stretches of camp here in terms of consecutive practices. So they're gonna go after it a little bit. Guys got to rest up. The coaches are going to put the plan together in terms of what practice looks like. How are they going to script things? I would imagine, like we just mentioned, that would involve a discussion about how many live periods are we going to do. Right. So all of that will be decided here on this off day on Sunday.
Eric, it was really great to hear from outside linebacker Frank Clark today as well. It was the first time we've heard from him, since he joined the Broncos. And, he had a lot of good stuff to say. But one thing that caught my attention was a reporter asked him what makes these championship teams, because obviously he's won 2 Super Bowls with the Chiefs. What makes these championship teams, different? And he talked about the routine, the focus level, their ability to eliminate distractions. He mentioned him and his teammates connecting on a different level. And, it's been everything we've heard head coach Sean Payton talk about the past several months.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, Frank Clark has that same mentality. He's obviously a proven winner. He's up there all time, I think 3rd or 4th somewhere in terms of all-time postseason sacks. I mean, he's been very successful. It might be a little bit lower on the list, but he's certainly up there. Right. He's a guy that is going to provide a presence off the edge, but also he knows how to win. And so, 3 AFC championship wins, 2 Super Bowl wins. I mean, it hurts us here to talk about it, but you're getting a guy who has won at the highest level, who knows what it takes. And he did say, "Hey, I'm not coming in and reminding everybody that I've won 2 Super Bowls." He said, I haven't had that conversation with anybody, but I do think if these guys are smart, they'll listen to Frank and say, "Okay, well, what things did you do there that worked?" And having Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce probably helps,
naturally,
but there are habits that you have to put yourself in that position to go from good team to championship team. And so these guys are able to listen to Frank. If he's able to impart some of that knowledge, it can only help. And he's also got kind of that edge to him that I think you need on a team that has playoff aspirations.
Right. It's funny you say that because throughout the past couple of practices, we've seen Frank Clark kind of take the outside linebackers to the side and kind of coach them up a bit, talk to them in the huddle, which is great to see. And, one other thing that kind of caught my attention is someone asked him whether Russell Wilson was any different now, because of course he played with him in Seattle a few years ago. And he said, no, I mean, mentality wise, he's just as dangerous.
Yeah. And he acknowledged that guys get older, and he said he hasn't seen that happen with Russ, but he said with Russ, same mentality. He's just as dangerous. He's still a guy that can go out there and make things happen. Listen, Frank Clark obviously was with him in Seattle, and so he's seen kind of the best of Russ, and no reason to, why he would need to sugarcoat anything or hype anything up. I mean, he's going to give an honest evaluation here of his teammate, because he was honest about everything else, right? He was asked about the Chiefs and Broncos, and he said the 15-game losing streak to the Chiefs, that's not what a rivalry is about. It's not a rivalry right now. So Frank Clark's certainly not afraid of being honest, but with Russ, he said, he's still got it. We've seen some other defenders talk about Russell's speed and what he's been able to do out there. So I am excited to see what Russell can do. I saw some of those flashes, like I mentioned earlier, Sid, during practice today, and, hope to see more of them more consistently as training camp goes on.
Definitely. Well, like we said, great first couple days of practice here of training camp. We'll be off tomorrow, but then we'll be right back here on Monday.
Okay. You don't need me tomorrow?
Nope. Don't need you tomorrow. Okay, take your Sunday off, Eric.
I'll see you Monday.
Sounds good. Thanks for joining, Eric.
You got it.
That'll do it for today's episode of Broncos Now. Broncos Country, thanks so much for tuning in. Like I mentioned earlier, we will not be in the studio tomorrow, but I'll meet you right back here on the Broncos Podcast Network and YouTube on Monday for another episode. I'll see you all then.